The Wii was the first console I laid my hands on. Some of my first memories ever are actually me playing on it, and to this day it's the only console I ever really use. But when I look back on my favorite console's assortment of games, I can't help but feel that the catalog is a little weak. Wii Sports, Mario Kart Wii, and Smash are the clear heavy hitters, but beyond that it felt like there were very few actually great games. As a kid I got to try Poke Park, Spyro, and a bunch of other games, but none of them were really that great, leaving me to question the Wii's depth. But that changed when I remembered one game I tried as a kid, Bakugan Battle Brawlers. This game never broke any sales records, it never became a symbol of excellency of the Wii, but to me it proves that, beyond the Wii's ability to attract a large casual fanbase, the Wii still has amazing games that bolster its depth as a console. And as for Bakugan, it's easily one of the best games masked by the veil of the Wii's perceived lack of catalog. To show this, I replayed the game, and I think we should go through it together. But to do that, let's first answer the question that is probably on a lot of your minds. What the fuck is Bakugan? Bakugan actually originated as a spherical children's toy that some guy conceived of in a Walmart shopping aisle. He pitched it to Spin Master, and to sell the toy, an accompanying kids show was made. The show and the toy saw some pretty good success, supposedly making $1 billion in sales by 2009. But then the franchise mightily fell off, and though reboots of the show were made, the franchise is largely dead, probably because the reboots look terrible. In Bakugan's heyday though, they had enough money to commission the game we are here to discuss, so let's play it. The game starts off in some unknown hyperspace, with a cartoonishly evil guy saying that now all Bakugan will bow to him. It's clear that his actions basically killed all the Bakugan in that world, except for a few, who somehow survived and escaped to Earth. I wonder who's gonna get them. We're then put at the park as our character, and some kids our age conveniently want to do a Bakugan battle because we were insulting this guy's Bakugan skill or something. In a huge stroke of luck, the protagonist from the Bakugan cartoon show shows up to teach us the ropes. This game's story is a little weird in that it's very clearly based on the events of the story of the actual cartoon, and exists in that same universe, but the character we play isn't a part of that timeline, so the story of this game ends up making the rest of the Bakugan cast look like posers when we eventually beat them. Funny story decisions aside, I finally get to talk about the game's battle system, which is incredibly unique, and I'm saying this wholeheartedly, super fucking fun. The game starts with us placing down what are called gate cards. We can throw our Bakugan around and let them navigate the environment a little bit, but when it lands on a gate card, it stays on it until another Bakugan lands on it too. If you land 2 of your own Bakugan on a gate card, you get to pick it up, and that's kind of like the same thing as getting a point, and getting 3 points wins you the entire game. If you get 1 Bakugan on a gate card, and someone else gets their Bakugan on that same gate card, you do a battle! Each Bakugan has its own power level, which can be boosted in a couple of ways, like upgrading your Bakugan before the battle, picking up power coins on the battlefield, or using ability cards. Regardless of how your power level starts at though, it all comes down to your ability to gain power during the mini-games in the battle if you want to win. The game has 3 mini-games, the shooting battle, the timing battle, and the power battle. All of them are really fun, and they expand in complexity as the game goes on, but we'll touch on them a tiny bit more later, and you'll see them in the background footage of course. For now, just know that winning a battle is dependent upon whoever has the most power points or G-power at the end of the battle. This battle system takes a little bit to get used to, but it really differentiates the game in really cool ways. Quick side note, this game is also ported to a few other consoles like the PS2, which was easier for me to set up, so that's why the background footage has PlayStation controls. Don't worry though, there's no tangible difference between the consoles, and I replayed it on my physical console with the Wii as well, just to make sure that it was the same. And the only thing that's different is, the mini-games we're talking about were way more fun. And the graphics are also better on the Wii because I completely forgot the timeline of when these consoles released. Alright, hopefully that clears some things up, let's move on. We win the battle against the kids, and as we're feeling really good about being a bona fide Bakugan battle brawler, a strange Bakugan lands on us from the heavens. His name is Leonidas, and he is obviously evil.
If I battle with you, I'll have the chance to defeat other Bakugan?
Yeah, we'll beat them all!
I sense that in this world I will only release my true power in these Bakugan battles.
He wants to destroy all Bakugan! He couldn't possibly be bad! We learned about the first tournament that we're going to join, explore the shop, and re-experience the bliss of the music of this game. Games from this time period have such a distinct feel that no matter how hard I try, I just can't replicate. In the shop, we get to upgrade our already existing Bakugan, buy new ones, and buy some new cards as well, so it's a pretty nice and comfy space. I played my first tournament and win handily, but another character from the show with more than 1 brain cell is certain that my super strong Bakugan who wants to kill all other Bakugan is evil, but we brush it off because we're either stupid or just incredibly selfish. We learned that our next tournament is going to have a slightly different format, in that it's going to be in pairs, so me and the protagonist go to the park so he can teach me. Despite Dan being the best Bakugan player ever, he's fucking terrible! Do you see his points? 280! His opponent's 170! How do you lose that? What the fuck?! After cooling off and buying some Bakugan, I joined another tournament, which uses an Aquos arena. I guess they were too scared to call it a water arena because of Nintendo. It's cool though, because it gives me an advantage because I personally use Aquos Bakugan. So I gain more G power in the minigames, and it's more suited to my personal skill set. I guess now's as good a time as ever to point out that the graphics of this game are pretty darn good, especially for the Wii and the other consoles that they ported this game to. The arenas look really nice, have cool interactive environments, and they really make the fights shine. They also did a really good job texturing and modeling every single Bakugan, and they somehow gave every single Bakugan animations for when they win a fight to make it look like our simple minigames were actually a real battle. As far as Wii games go, I'm incredibly impressed, and I would definitely put this game above every other game in the top 5 of the Wii sales figures list for me, at least in terms of graphics. After winning the tournament despite the handicap of Dan, I've officially entered the core gameplay loop, which in this game is learn a new mechanic, buy things from the shop using the money you won from the tournament, then do the next tournament in a new arena and get some new lore. As repetitive as that sounds, it's actually really fun, because the game provides enough of a challenge in its battling system that I find myself constantly engaged in trying to win. There's really a lot of strategy to this game that might go unnoticed until you actually play it. Should I go for a double stand and take the free points immediately? Should I move my Bakugan to another card for a stay but risk being battled on an opponent's card? How should I walk the fine line between going for maximum G power on my throws to actually being able to land on the card? These are all questions that you have to ask yourself during the battle, because the game doesn't go easy on you, and that makes the gameplay really fun. In all honesty though, the challenge of the game did really piss me off more than a few times during my playthrough, though I would take that more as a reflection of how passionate I became for the game rather than like a diss of it. It did really tick me to my soul that this fucking Reinhardt clone beat me 3 times in a row. He won?! No! No! What?! How did he win that? After we win some more tournaments, the entire Bakugan Battle Brawlers anime cast has come to the obvious conclusion that our obviously evil Bakugan is obviously evil. So the game finally decided to reveal that he's evil? What? No way! By giving us a cutscene between us and Mardok, some guy who just appears out of nowhere, who has another obviously evil Bakugan too. Apparently Vladitor, Mardok's Bakugan, and Leonidas, our Bakugan, both came from the Doom Dimension, and absolutely hate every other Bakugan. After we beat Vladitor in a battle, he asks Leonidas to join him, but because Leonidas doesn't settle for second best, he stays with us and promises to be a good boy.
All I wanted was to take my anger out on the other Bakugan.
But now...
But I've changed.
Yeah!
Since I met you.
Me?
Yes. Thanks to you, I've learned the importance of friendship and trust.
I know this is a kid's game, but even this is a little too cliche for me. The guy comes from a place called the fucking Doom Dimension. He shouldn't be a good guy. After we win another tournament, we're brought into a battle with the cartoon's main antagonist, Masquerade. He isn't mentioned in this game until this exact moment and plays no pivotal part in the story, so let's just move on. We're now in the second to last tournament of the game, and we now have to go against Dan the Man. He was actually really hard to beat. Would have been nice if he was that good when I played with him. Because of our success against every member of the Bakugan Battle Brawlers, we have officially joined the team, fulfilling the dream of every kid who watched the cartoon, while simultaneously leaving me and you dazed and confused because we haven't. Seriously though, this story makes like absolutely no sense unless you watch the show. It's so funny. As a group, we begin scheming how we're gonna win the next and final tournament, because Masquerade and Mardok are gonna join it, with the intention of destroying us. In the tournament, we absolutely crush both of them with ease, but Vladitor and the evil creepy guy we saw in the first cutscene of the game band together to make Big Vladitor, and he disables every Bakugan from Earth by making it like the Doom Dimension. In response, our Bakugan band behind Leonidas, because he's also from the Doom Dimension, so he can actually still fight. Now it's time for a final battle between Big Leonidas and Big Vladitor, and it's genuinely very cool. The battle arena is super well made, the character designs are great all around, and the fight has some rule changes that add spice to make it feel more impactful. For a final boss, it was definitely challenging enough too, leaving me on the edge of my seat to the last second, so genuinely, it's a good fight. After we win, we get one final cutscene. Both Vladitor and Leonidas die, leaving us and Mardok a little bit dejected. Actually, never mind, we're not dejected at all.
You can't just leave me here!
Vladitor may have been evil, but at least he had pride. Quit crying and stand up like a man.
You don't understand!
I know you really love Bakugan. Okay, so you lost your partner, but you're still here. Hang in there and you can play again. When you're up to it, challenge me to a Bakugan battle. Who knows, you might even win.
Watch out, kid! One day, I'll whip you good!
For the record, no, that scene was not translated from Japanese. The game actually never released there. It's just that bad naturally, which is something I strive to achieve someday. As you can probably tell, I'm a little critical about the story of this game, and I don't think it would be a proper video if I didn't mention the parts of the game that weren't as good as the sum of its parts, so I'll talk about it a little. This game only does plot development through cutscenes. There's no dialogue anywhere, and the story isn't really shown through the fights. As you just saw, the cutscenes have some pretty bad voice acting and are written as if every character is able to immediately change and be perfect instantly, which isn't really conducive to writing a good story. Apart from that, the actual events of the story are okay on paper, but feel really uninteresting because we barely get to learn anything about the characters. And there's also like zero character development for anybody around us other than learning to accept that our obviously evil Bakugan is actually on our side. So the story just feels really bland. I think the idea of a kid wanting validation and success, using an evil Bakugan without thinking of the consequences, is a good idea for an overarching antagonist, but it's just not portrayed well, and it's completely contradictory because we literally do the exact same thing. What's nice though is that I actually don't care that this story is so terrible. Bakugan already has a cartoon, so if I was playing the game for its story solely, I would just watch the cartoon instead. The game was so fun to play that I didn't even care that the game ended with Leonidas miraculously coming back to life because Vladitor, the guy who tried to destroy Earth 5 fucking seconds ago, saved him. After the heartwarming scene reuniting our main character with Leonidas, the credits roll and I finally get to conclude my video. Bakugan Battle Brawlers is among the list of games that don't get nearly the amount of credit they deserve. It might not have been an incredibly impactful game on the industry, but it managed to cement itself as one of the best of its kind in terms of gameplay and quality for its genre. The game certainly has its downsides, but on the whole, it's a really solid title with a lot to offer, which is what I think is so sad about the Wii. The Wii's extensive list of smaller games will likely always be overshadowed by the big players I mentioned at the beginning, because it's easier to bring up a game like Wii Sports, which has a large family appeal, than it is to bring up Bakugan, which is a niche, anime, toy, cartoon game. But the games are still out there, and I'm sure that Bakugan isn't the only gem hiding deep in the catalog of the Wii. Hell, I can name 3 more off the top of my head. So as time goes on, and a new generation of kids get farther and farther detached from what will always be my favorite, non-handheld, console, I will keep making these videos to hopefully preserve and highlight what truly made it so good. Oh yeah, and you should definitely play Bakugan Battle Brawlers if that wasn't clear.